to be honest, if I'm EDG, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? It worked last time. Why would I not just run it back?
Yeah, and now I'm curious to see if JDG do just go back towards the Jhin Zhao, the winning matchup in the, if you're going to go towards the Lee Sin. But JJ kind of proved in the last game, right? He's perfectly happy to take the Lee Sin into this matchup. You take the Jhin again for EDG. You got the strong push in the bot lane. It feels like we're just going to run it back right now. And again, I think for JDG, it's not the worst plan in the world. It was that bot lane going, or sorry, that early game going so awry that really caused them issues in the last game.
Yeah, so rinse and repeat so far with the Jhin coming out from Viper. And I will say, EDG need to pull their socks up a little bit in the 2v2 on the bottom side. But, well, JJ's got Lee Sin. So, wrap it up, boys. It's over. JJ's got another MVP for himself. Good job, mate.
Yeah, I think for JDG, I actually don't mind them going towards the Zoe here. I'd actually prefer them, rather than going towards the Kai'Sa, which kind of like holds missing to that bot lane, go towards the Ezreal. I still think Ezreal does really well in the poke scenarios, especially if you're going to go towards that like Crown of the Shattered Queen build. His damage is absurd, especially when it comes towards a poke scenario, but it looks like LPC going to just go back towards the Kai'Sa. And I mean, we're just running the same compositions here. JDG just kind of agreeing that the early game decision making was the main factor, not so much the actual play. But here we go. Okay. I like it. This Samira. Someone in the crowd with an interesting high five. Yeah. Love it. Yes, Samira for LPC. I like it because, hey, they already got a 2v2 kill in the first game. Why not be aggressive on the bottom side? I think it's a good strategy. Whereas EDG, they're like, you know what? Oh, actually, no, changed it at the last second. The Vex coming out from Scout. Let's go. Yeah, I actually like this adaptation, right? Because one of the big things for Samira is she likes to run around, she likes to dash, she likes to jump around in team fights. Well, Vex very good at shutting that down, whereas Ryze not going to have that same effect, especially if she's getting her blades whirled around her and you're not going to be able to CC her. So I actually like this adaptation from EDG, and you've still got a good amount of poke and push in that mid lane as well to try and combat Yagao on the zone. So nice ideas coming through from EDG, and we're seeing the fans being run back here with the Sion, but actually JDG have gone with what we were talking about in the last game, right? Get rid of these supports that can kind of be a bit of a nuisance, not only for Samira, but if you end up with a push on the bot side, something that's capable of setting up dives.
The Sion being banned again, which is intriguing to say the least. Obviously, this is something from scrims that I'm not privy to, but clearly the tank, I'm assuming tank top laners, maybe a Sion support, who knows? Rel getting banned as well. Alistair taken off the board by JDG. And now our final ban could be something like the Leona that we saw from Meiko in game number 1 of the series.
Yeah, I imagine it will be very good at kind of like shutting down the Samira, unless it's banned here, which I wouldn't be surprised at. It's going to be the Annie ban. I knew it was going to come through. So at least JDG eyeing up potential here for the Jace pick for 369 in the top lane, unless Flandre just decides to take it for himself anyway and they go with the counter pick support. But I mean, anything that's just going to be able to easily lock up the Samira is going to be wonderful. Nautilus fits that with the auto attacks and even having that ultimate. Same when you look towards the likes of the Leona with their own auto attacks. They're champions that are really effective of keeping Samira in check.
I just looked at this Annie ban. Imagine crying not being in the game and there being an Annie ban in 2022. Who would have seen this coming today? I certainly didn't. So, over to the side of JDG. The Jace is open. Like, I still think the Jace is a good pick, but looks like maybe Kennen could be the option instead, taking that away from Flandre, and also, I believe, does pretty well into Jace.
Yeah, can do reasonably well. I mean, it's basically just, hey, we're both long range. We're not really going to be able to do too much, but it can certainly look as a big engage tool when you come towards team fights in the later stage, which I think is kind of what JDG have been lacking for a little bit. So here you've got a nice engage composition coming through with both the Kennen and the Leona to set that up, long range poke coming through from Zoe. So honestly, JDG have a lot kind of set up to allow LPC to pop off in this Samira. So I think JDG going to be playing pretty heavily around this bot side to try and enable it.
Certainly will be. He's
okay.
locked in. It's happening. We've got a Vladimir
Flandre just doesn't care. He doesn't care about your meta. He doesn't care about your expectations. Flandre plays whatever he feels like, all right? He will play Annie top. He will play Vladimir top. He is just looking to have the most unique champion pool of any top player this year, I guess. When you've already won the World Championship, I guess you've got to set new goals for yourself.
I mean, again, though, it's like well thought out, right? It's not like you've got a matchup against the Kennen where Kennen can't really punish you very well. A range matchup, heal, so Kennen poke means nothing. Kennen goes for the all-in, you just cool and you're away, right? So actually a pretty... And I want to see how Kanavi starts things off, because a lot of this early jungle path is going to dictate how aggressive LPC and Missy can play in this bottom side. You can already see like the cleanse coming in for Viper, the exhaust for Meiko. They know they're on the back foot here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Kanavi try and start off on this top side, move down into bot lane so then he can go for the early level 3, or maybe even try and go some funky path where he just goes for that quick down bot.
Yagao. Oh, Meiko doesn't pull the trigger. I thought they were going to go for him there. I thought Yagao was doomed, but he's all right. He gets away with it for now. I'm sorry, Dagda. I interrupted you. Please continue.
It's all good. I mean, I think we've already kind of hit on it, right? You can see already, EDG, they want to get that ward down so they can spot where Kanavi's going to be. Kanavi is going to start on this bot side, so this is going to be really curious to see what the plan for Kanavi is, right? Like, there is always the option to go from, like, red to raptors, down into Krugs, and into a quick bot side gank. Thinking, hey, look, maybe I can try and make something happen, but maybe he just wants to try and full clear top side, get a couple of levels into the spot lane before he really makes himself known down there.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he's going to be able to make his way into these lanes. Yagao getting a really nice trade to start off. Gets a bubble in as well. You love to see it in Scout. Being forced back, and that is the nature of this lane early on. It's once the portal comes in, that's when Vex can start to a bit more. But the bot lane just being shoved in by EDG, and we're looking at the junglers here because we've got Kanavi already on his top half when both of the camps on the bottom side just going for the red and then moving up to his top side, whereas Jiejie is going for the full clear.
Yeah, it looks like Kanavi's kind of has a bit of PTSD from the last game, completely trying to desync from Jiejie, right? Moving up towards top side, he now moved back to Wolves, in towards his Raptors, and then can try and look for some sort of play on the bot side, especially since Viper and Meiko have full push down on that bot lane. It looks like Kanavi's going to try and hit just after the reset of the wave and see if he can catch Viper and Meiko before they fully push in this bot wave. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on the jungle. Because especially as you can see Yagao having push in mid, it should be a decent amount of control for JDG if they want to make plays in the bottom.
Oh, big engage on the bottom side. Viper using cleanse very early on, but it's missing that's in trouble. Already half of his health gone at minimum. It's a good trade for EDG. It did cost them a summoner spell ultimately, but still a good health trade.
Look at Jiejie, though. He's reading Kanavi here. He's like, look, you warded my Raptors. I know you're trying to see if you can fake me out. So Jiejie making his way down. Will end up losing out on one of the Scuttle Crabs. So going to maybe teeter back up towards the top side here. But still spotting out where Kanavi is and giving a good amount of information to EDG.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if that was Jiejie reading Kanavi or Kanavi reading Jiejie. Because Kanavi had mid prio, but then Jiejie had bot prio, so I think depending on the position of the crab depends on who ends up winning the scenario. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, it's a crab that goes the way of Kanavi. Remember, new patch, new season, that first crab not as crucial as it used to be.
Yeah, it's still nice to pick up though and kind of like help out a little bit, but definitely not as important as it once was. EDG at the moment though, Viper and Meiko go for the reset. They're just like, hey look, there's too much pressure down on this bottom side. We don't want anything to do with it. They pick up the double longsword, so makes themselves a little bit safer and have a little bit more DPS if some sort of dive was come down. And they're still back in time to pick up this wave. So EDG responding nicely to what JDG have been trying to do so far in the early game.
Yeah, much slower pace and less coin flip invades from Kanavi. to just say it how it is, let's be honest. Flandre as well, doing a good job of farming up so far. He's almost 10 CS up in that top lane. Similar story for Scout in the mid lane as well. Things going well for the EDG solo laners. And we've got 13 seconds until that first Drake is onto the map. It is going to be Hextech to start us off in that bottom side. As we get some T-Tours in the bottom left of our screens. spooky new dragon comes onto the map.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a bit of a slow one if JJ is able to kind of like keep up with Kanavi as he's been doing thus far. It's really difficult for Kanavi to try and make plays happen if he's got to be worried about a counter gank. Because if you try and make something happen in the bot lane, right? You go in aggressive, suddenly JJ shows up, Meiko's there with exhaust, you got Viper with CC, JJ's going to burst you down as well. It's really tough to try and ring out as JJ will spot missing, but just going to be able to walk himself out.
Do you know, I'm not sure he did spot missing because he certainly didn't react. He just ignored him completely, living up to the name The Blind Monk, eh? Didn't seem to notice anything. And Viper and LPC trading at the bottom side, and LPC happy to go aggressive, building up those style points, but obviously not level 6 yet, so it won't matter too much. It's the junglers, or at least Kanavi, moving towards this bottom side and could potentially start off this Drake if LPC can maintain the presence in the bottom lane with Missing moving in as well. They'll grab that cannon, and this might just be a Drake for JDG.
Yeah, I don't think you want to try and fight this here as EDG. Like, there's just too much pressure on the bottom side. Samira is in a really good spot, and being able to give her over kills early is a disaster. Just look for the pick on Yagao.
Yagao manages to get out of range of the Q, though, and actually trades it back onto Scout, dropping an Ignite with his spellbook. So Scout actually losing out on that trade despite Yagao being outnumbered. Very nicely done by Yagao.
It should... The thing for Yagao here as well is having that TP advantage. Scout had only just returned to mid lane, so Yagao can clear this wave, reset, get back to mid, shove it in, and actually set up for JDG to put pressure on towards this this Rift Tower as well, just as a spawn. 369 has a really good push in top, and with Samira being able to reset first, it looks like JDG should not only get Dragon, but have good control over the top of the map for the Rift Tower reset as well.
Yeah, and I just want to point out there as well, we saw the observers highlighting it was Flandre moving back up towards that top side. This is like this signature move Flandre had back in 2021, right? If he had the opportunity to get priority to shove a big wave in, he would make an attempt at going mid and helping Scout find a lead individually. And it's good to see that, you know, we're in a new season, it's a new year, but it doesn't matter. That strategy's still going to come true as Viper could be in trouble. And Meiko actually manages to block the Zenith Blade there. Goes underneath the tower himself, but he'll go down for first blood. And the root comes down onto Missing. It's not enough from Viper. Very nicely done by JDG.
Yeah, perfect timing now, because as we said, LPC now pushes in bot. He rotates up towards the Rift Herald, and you're keeping the kind of this chugging along here for JDG, especially when you're running a composition with a Samira and a Kennen. Up against things like the Vladimir, you're definitely going to get outscaled. So JDG, I like that they're using their proactivity and playing down towards this bot.
Yeah, beautifully done. It does net them a Drake as well. So good stuff from JDG. A little bit of an advantage, which is a pleasant change in pace from game number 1, because we're 8 minutes in, which is approximately when EDG ended the first game, if I remember correctly. So it's good to see JDG existing in this one. EDG start themselves a Herald off, but look where 369 is. He's level 7. He has his ulti. LPC moving in as well. It's time to make a play from JDG. 2000 on the Herald. 369 flashing forward, but the personal space fears him. He's rooted, but he still gets a kill anyway. 1 for 1 as the reset comes through from Scout. I believe Kanavi be in trouble next, but he has his ulti to keep him alive, and Yagao finds the bubble. And it's beautifully done by JDG as they get themselves a Herald and a couple more kills.
I don't think they actually got the Herald. I think JJ smited that right as he went down, and it's actually Flandre who managed to pick that up on the top side. So JDG, they trade 2 kills for the Rift Tower going towards Flandre in the top half of the map. So we'll have to see what JDG now can try and do, but a bit unfortunate that they couldn't quite get there in time because they took a quick pit stop to get that dragon.
Actually, the more I think about it, that might be disastrous if Flandre gets solo plate gold with that Herald. He gets an empowered recall.
Yeah.
Next time he can crash a wave. That's a lot of gold going over to a Vladimir. I don't know if that's good in the grand scheme of things for JDG. But here we go, 2v2 in the bottom side. On to Viper they go. Cleanse is nowhere near enough. And LPC wants a bit more. The double kill against Viper and Meiko. That's how you make an entrance.
Again, it's just going for these aggressive bot lanes. Once you've got these hyper carries, these big pushers out of the lane, LPC's happy to take the Samira and turn the 2v2 back in favor of JDG, but we're just going to get a replay here of what happened on this top side. So 369, like, he needed this play to work out. Gave up that massive wave on top side over towards Flandre to get in position for this. And the fact they managed to kill Jiejie off the back as well is wondrous for JDG, because, I mean, one kill for that Rift Herald and that big wave loss would not have been worth it. But at least JDG now kind of go even on that play, because look at the top side gold. 300 gold in favor of Flandre. Rift Herald still in his pocket. And here comes Jiejie.
Time to make a play on the top side. 369's in trouble. Does have Slicing Maelstrom, though. It's hard to dive a Kennen a lot of the time. Stun comes down onto Flandre, but he is Vladimir at the end of the day, so he turns into a puddle, and everything's okay. He's got a Herald as well, so that might just be a finished off tower in the top side. Beautifully execute dive by EDG. In the meantime, JDG trying to make plays on the bottom side, but I don't think it's going to work out for him because the respect from Viper and Meiko is beautiful to see.
I mean, this is going to be a Flandre versus LPC game. You're getting so many resources dedicated to LPC. 3 kills already to his name, bounty as well. And now this TP coming through as Rift Herald is just going to be able to take a good chunk off that tower. But late game scaling on the Vladimir, you're going to have to try and pop off here for LPC to prevent that from happening.
Man, if that minion wave was just a second later. I love watching Yagao play Zoe. I'm telling you, if you want to get good at Zoe, watch some of this guy's solo queue, watch some of this guy's pro views, because he is a beast. And the way that he finds those angles, like, he didn't manage to get that bubble because of the minion wave, but just the creativity in the play, it's really something.
Are you going to listen to your own advice so you can stop hinting in solo queue, or is that
all right, Rob. Well, you can solo cast the rest of this one. I'm at it.
Well, now that it is just the Dagda show, I'm perfectly happy to chat about JDG. They're in a pretty good spot here to try and set things up, right? Yagao, still a lot of pushing mid. You've got LPC who can try and play towards on the spot side. Terror should go down relatively soon if you can try and play off it, but the fact they managed to grab these early dragons and continue to put pressure on this bottom side should set them up nicely for team fights. As Jiejie does find 369, but not going to be able to do too much.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go for kill. Just going to grab that Grump away. And this is what EDG did best, right? Just trying to suffocate JDG around the map. And LPC still on this tower on the bottom side, but Samira not exactly renowned for being the fastest at annihilating towers. Much more about the team fight. So still working away on those plates. And in the meantime, it's going to be traded for a tier 2 in the top side of the map here. As Flandre is getting giga fed. 127 gold. He had 5 plates. And now a tier 2 tower as well. He's 30 CS up. It's feeling real good for him as the shadows gonna stay in the shadows for now.
Yeah, and you can see there, right? He's matching the gold now that LPC has picked up. LPC will finish this tower, which should just bump the Samira ahead, but still, like, you've now got an answer for the Samira in team fights, and Vladimir is terrifying when he gets to the late game. So JDG need to try and find ways to set themselves up correctly in team fights. Spot out where Flandre is going to be, because if Flandre finds a big flank and can annihilate LPC before he even gets going, it's not going to bode well for JDG.
I just feel bad for 369 at this point. You know, he's moved out. He's moved to a new school. He doesn't have any friends there yet. He's nervous on his first day. And then EDG shows up in their cool bomber jackets, and they've got their world's trophies and their medals on. And they come and they just beat, they just beat the snot out of him, you know? Like, what can poor 369 do? He's just been abandoned. He's just been absolutely roasted in this top side. It's painful to watch, honestly.
I mean, EDG have done a phenomenal job of, like, playing away from LPC, right? You think, hey, JDG want to go and try and pick up the dragon, which they did, but as they're putting those resources, but EDG answer with Flandre's positioning top, and now Flandre.
Oh, but the little kid answers back. It's Flandre who's being bullied, turns into a puddle, but that's all he'll be. Is 369 finishes him off and gets revenge. He stands strong for the little guys everywhere.
I thought the transfuse might have gone off in time. Jiejie, you do not have any business being here, although
you say that. I trusted Jiejie. Viper gonna have to cleanse away the bubble. I swear. When I play Cleanse, it's got a much bigger cooldown than when Viper plays Cleanse. That's all I'm saying. JDG can't quite find a pick.
Scout, though, answering on the spot side with the turret. So again, like EDG, they're consistently finding these cross-map plays. JDG commit 3 members to top side. Yes, they get the kill, but you do have EDG positioning to make sure they can turn around. Rift Herald, though, should go to JDG, and I imagine this is going to go into the mid lane. The big game plan here for JDG's play off of Dragons.
Scout's not doing so hot on the Vex ultis just yet. It doesn't have to be max range every time. You're allowed to get a little closer. So we see some trade. It's actually a very even game. JDG's currently winning, Dagda.
Yeah, and I want to see them try and use this Rift Herald mid. I was just saying, I want to see JDG playing for Dragons, creating this longer lane where you can push back EDG further, get rid of some of that pesky vision, should make things easier. And JDG, they're doing a nice job of finding picks. Flandre overextends in top. I thought he'd get the transfuse here before that W went off, but unfortunately not quite able to do so. And it is going to be the kill going the way of 369.
I think it must have been on cooldown because it didn't look like he was even trying to, right? It was rocket belting away. So I think, unfortunately, cooldown's just a little bit too long in the early game for Flandre. He went down situation. So nicely done here by JDG. And again, they've got a bit of a gold lead for themselves, but it's not a huge gold lead. And when we take a step back and take another look at these compositions, when we're looking at scaling, you've already mentioned that Vladimir is gonna get absolutely huge. Samira, not exactly known as that a late game hyper carry, much more known for the mid game. So it feels like JDG do need to start putting their foot down, and this Herald in the mid lane will certainly help them do that. So they take a tier 1 for themselves. They'll look for an extra charge onto the tier 2. Jiejie really wants to hit that eye, but he won't be able to. Uh-oh, we're past 14 minutes. Flandre's behind the enemy team. Rocket belt in. There's a big ulti onto everybody, but it looks like it'll just be 2 for now. But 2 is better than none. Kanavi will keep himself alive with his ulti, but the fear comes on in. Zoe over the wall. Yagao trying to turn it around, but it's a double kill for Viper, and a boot to the face for 369. Then pulled in on the anchor and shut down by the shadows. The scout. Beautifully done by EDG.
And that's what I was about to add to your point, was that Samira, not only does she not scale great, she can really struggle when you've got so many flank opportunities, so much CC on EDG as well to lock her down. And EDG played that perfectly, getting Flandre on the flank, forcing LPC back. And from that point, EDG are just all go. We'll catch it here, right? Look how deep this TP is from Flandre, and you've got Meiko on the opposite side. When do you try and cancel the CC here, right? Because LPC, worried about the ult coming in from Meiko, burns that wind wall early, but it just separates out JDG, and from that point forward, you've got so much lockup coming through with the Everfrost coming through from Vex, you've got the lockdown from Viper. It becomes really difficult to play these fights, and not only that, JJ with that phenomenal kick to stop the turnaround coming through with the Kennen.
I just want to quickly say, it's not called Wind Wall, it's called Blade Will. She's far more talented than Yasuo. Yasuo just throws some wind. She literally hits bullets out of the air. And now we've got some more bullets flying as the fight kicks off. Kanavi having to use his ultimate preemptively here. Also, coincidentally, literally the same ability as Samira, just long duration. As EDG grouping up in the mid lane. And gold is now even, by the way. EDG are pretty much caught up in terms of the game. And now potentially could get control of the Dragons, and that was the big win condition for JDG. There's a bubble, though, from Yagao, but they can't follow it up onto Meiko, and now CC chain onto Missing. They can't finish anything off, though. They're just teetering on the edge of a fight here. But the Dragon started off. It is a Cloud, which is not the greatest ever, but it's actually taken by Kanavi anyway. So third Drake going the way of JDG. Beautifully stolen. Another miss from Scout. He's 3 out of 4 on the misses so far of the ultis this game. But now the re-engage from JDG in the longest non-fight in the history of League of Legends. Nobody dies, but JDG get mildly low.
I mean, you're going to take that as JDG, right? The fact that they didn't have positioning on the Dragon and still managed to take it is pretty good considering the composition that they have. They really want 369 to be able to like come in on flanks, get on towards Scout and Viper, and make sure that they can spot where Flandre is coming from, but with no vision in the area, no control, Viper's dead!
Yeah, taste lightning, Viper, taste lightning. Snakes, not that good in a thunderstorm, apparently. Who would have thought that? I would have expected, you know, they're quite low down, but I guess the lightning still finds its target. 369. You know, all of that stuff that was going on in the early game and all that stuff from game number 1, he's not in a good mood. He's ready for some revenge.
I will say though, like JDG would love to start baiting Baron around about now, like trying to draw EDG into that top side. Kennen not having flash is actually a pretty big hit, so although it is a nice kill and a nice bit of gold for 369, not having flash for some of these potential fights is actually a relatively big deal. Now it's going to be 25 minutes before you could really have to worry about 369 flashing onto you with that ult as EDG.
It's very true, but he does have an unchained, unleashed teleport. I was trying to think of another unword, but unevolved came to mind and it wasn't really appropriate. But he will be able to teleport behind fight is the point I'm trying to make here, if the vision is good from JDG. And historically, that was one of the things that this team was always very good at. The thing is, that was all Luma, and now it's missing on the squad. So we'll have to see how this team develops and whether or not that still continues to be a strength.
I think right now, like JDG, you can see they're kind of playing towards what we're talking. Get control over river, see if you can like push out waves, keep EDG kind of interested in poking headfirst into this river. And there's not a huge amount of people that can really face check. Meiko, yes, you're Nautilus, but not particularly tanky. Flandre can dodge some abilities, but he's going to be split pushing bot side. So if JDG can force EDG to continuously poke their head here, they might be able to get some picks or set themselves up for a nice fight.
And it does feel like both teams quite have to go for a fight in this one. A lot of big ultis as JDG going to be locked up to start this one off, but it's actually huge damage as LPC finds one already in the fight, and he's got his style points. He's ready to ulti if he can find a target. Meiko low, finished off by 369, and now it's Flandre on the front line, has to use the cleanse, turns into a puddle, and it will save his life for the time being. Now a curtain call as they try and get some kills on the exit. EDG looking for anything, but finding nothing.
And now you can move over towards this Baron. JDG, they still got a good amount of health bars. A lot of the poke is starting to come out from Scout though, and they do need to be careful. This could be dangerous, especially if Flandre can get in, but with no ultimate, it looks like EDG are afraid to try and go in.
It's looking like there's going to be a lot of channel points being thrown around at the end of this one as JDG in prime position. They're on the Baron. 5k left as Flandre tries to move in. Kanavi jumps forward, but a bit of personal space is granted by Scout. The puddle, nothing works for JDG. Everything's denied and Flandre goes in. It's EDG sweeping them up. Never mind the channel points. I was totally wrong. EDG are back on top.
Impeccable play from EDG. 369's trying to hide, make sure he can get that big ult, and they just outplay it so well. And now it's EDG on the Baron. Now it's EDG with control of this game, and they can look to once more close this out in a 2-0 fashion. But JDG, they're not quite pushed out of it yet.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. This part of the fight is very nice from JDG. I hope we get a replay of the Baron fight, because that was so beautifully played.
Yeah, this was really well done by JDG, right? LPC set up nicely. He's able to deal with one threat at a time. He's not trying to deal with multiple people from EDG jump onto him, which is perfect for getting those stall points and setting up. But you see here, right, 369 knows he's out of vision, setting up beautifully here and is trying to get that flank, but Scout still has his flash available, still very healthy as well. So when 369 goes in, Scout's out over the wall, still has the Q to deal damage, and Flandre is able to get himself out before he launches himself back in to pick up those kills.
And man, Vex. Vex is definitely a champion. That is a sentence I'm willing to commit to. Personal space is a very good ability. And Kanavi found that out firsthand just there. He just gets feared back into his team. And just take a look at the items that are on Scout right now. 2 fully completed items with a Medjai's on 10 stacks as well. Not to mention his boots, of course. He's feeling real strong, and Vex, when you get a few items, starts to blow people up. So when we see that ulti hitting, that will lead to kills. But a curtain call will be the ulti we're talking about now, as Yagao's been caught and there's no way out. A couple more shots go through. And suddenly, what felt like a JDG favored game just a couple of minutes ago now feels like EDG are knocking on the door of another win.
And again, it's EDG playing this map so well. They catch JDG, who are trying to position up towards top side. EDG take bot turret. Now they rotate mid to take 2. They're getting so much gold off of this Baron push, and little JDG can do what you go down for another 15 seconds.
another tier 2 in the mid lane. And tier 2 in the top lane, if you remember, eons ago was taken by Flandre with that Rift Herald, while LPC was trying to trade it for the first tower in the bottom side. So right now, EDG have taken 6 towers across the map already. JDG, when it comes to control of these neutral objectives, it's going to become extremely difficult to push into this jungle where they have so little vision.
And you wanted to point out scouts at him. Items. I want to look at Flandre. Like, 3.5 items complete.
Yeah.
This guy is very close to just taking off. I mean, he already has insane damage when it comes to these fights, but this is where LPC, still not having completed his 3rd item, is just not going to be able to compete when it comes towards the damage that Flandre can put out. So when you're looking at, you know, Dragon in 3 minutes, the Baron that's going to be up in about another 5, that's where you're going to be in trouble here for JDG. And that's if you can even try and hold on until that point. At least EDG now, trying to see if they can push out the waves, get control over River, and potentially that bot side jungle for JDG, maybe even catch people in transition.
You see Flandre being oh so careful in that bottom side of the map, making sure not to get caught out. Let's go for a bit of vision with the Scrying Orb, but now EDG are moving into this bottom half of the map. He's safe to push that wave out, and it feels like they're trying to get pressure on that bottom side while they can. 2.5 minutes until that Baron comes up, so they don't need to worry about getting caught on the wrong side of the map. This is 9. He's found a sneaky way into the brush, but I think he must have gone past that control wall to get there. Goes for the Slice of Maelstrom anyway, but Viper flashes away. And 369, you know, it was a good attempt. I like the gumption there. You're down on death row at this point. You might as well try and make something happen, but it just cannot come to fruition.
Yeah, Viper was in a little bit of trouble, but you can see with Flandre being pushed in on this bot side, that was it for JDG, right? Try and quickly collapse on the 4-man unit, find that uneven fight, but unfortunately, doesn't come to fruition, and now you're stuck a man down trying to defend your base, and it's going to be that mid inhibitor that's first pickings for EDG.
Look, you can take the 369 out of top esports, but you can't take the top esports out of 369. He's gonna make the mojo plays, and they may not be good, but I love him anyway, you know. You gotta respect that. It's an inhib down in the mid lane for EDG. As JDG looking for a couple of picks if they can find them, but Neverfrost, all of the CC coming down onto Kanavi. His ulti will keep him safe for the time being as JDG look for a little bit more engage onto the team, and it's Scout to go down first. Kanavi retreating low on HP as the rest of the team trying to follow it up. LPC spinning around, but EDG somehow are coming out on top. And Jiejie, can he carry the fight? Flandre's alongside him as Meiko's gone down, and actually, up on the top side, 369 gets 2 for himself, and suddenly, it's all flipped on its head once more.
I mean, it could have been a phenomenal fight for JDG, but Flandre managing to win out in the uneven fight on the bot side. And JDG, though, they'll take that, right? What was not looking so hot for them to be able to defend their base actually turns into a bit of money back in their pocket. And we'll see in the replay here, right? Flandre tries to take a step forward to just get a bit of poke damage on towards Kanavi, but having that pool down means that he needs to be very careful where he positions in this fight. Can't really move up to get a lot of damage off the E, so you've got a lot of separation here for EDG. And you can see here, right, LPC tries to go in, but that transfuse damages so damn much at this stage. JDG managed to pick up a good amount of gold off the back of this, and might just help them steady the ship as we've got Dragon now in 10 seconds, and JDG have got back control of this bot side jungle.
And you know, EDG struggling to close out this game after such a dominant game number 1. I think this is the perfect moment to make ridiculous sweeping statements about the future of this organization, Dagda. As they go towards the second Drake in this one. JJ finished that one off. 2 Drakes now on the board for EDG. And they can move up towards this Baron that we talked about before. TP coming through. It's Scout behind enemy lines here. Missing, trying to start the fight. This 369 might be able to stop Scout joining the fray. Shadows needs to come on through, but Scout's just stunned up. He can't get into the play, but personal space saves the day. Fears across the team, and he strikes fear into the heart of any JDG fans at home. JJ looking to chase down Yagao, who's just desperately fleeing with his tail between his legs. Oh, the TP isn't going to be cancelled. There's no kick available, and it means Yagao gets out with his life, but that's all he's got. Oh,
yeah, it
we're
doesn't
not
look like
done.
369
There's a slicing
would be getting
Maelstrom. 3-6. What is that damage? almost finishes both of them, but he hasn't finished the Void Staff. If that Void Staff is finished, I think that's a double kill, but it wasn't meant to be. We'll call that a 6. It's not quite a 3. We'll call that a 6.
At 10 seconds though in LPC, EDG don't feel confident with the health bars they have. They can close out the game. So instead, they turn over towards the Baron. No TP available for Yagao. No TP on 369 because he's dead for another 30 seconds. So no contest here from JDG. And EDG once more coming out with the successes.
All right, Baron on the cards once again as EDG go for it. And I mean, let's be honest, there's no universe this is even contestable. It's already in the back pocket, 17-12. And you know, it's not been the cleanest game ever from EDG. That was the first game, but it's still looking good for them. And when it comes to team fighting, that's where they excel. Keep your eyes on Scout.
Yeah, I mean, Scout gets a ton of damage coming through from 369. The Rabadon's death cap, the 369 is doing work, but I mean, perfect fear coming through with the flash there. And from that point forward, there's just no way that you can set up. And I don't know what Missing was doing that far up, right? You don't have 369 position. You have no vision of where EDG is. Just a big mistake from Missing that EDG do a good job to punish.
Okay, moving on to try and clear the vision here. Does feel like EDG knocking on the door at this point. JDG once again onto that kind of last chance saloon that we saw for pretty much the entire game in game number 1. See if they can hold on this time. Some of these team fights have looked good, and 7 kills for 369. He has now finished that Void Staff. He's got healing reduction. If he can get onto Viper, this is still fightable for JDG. That's a very deep TP. It's going to take him a long time to get in the fight, but it doesn't matter because Flandre has run it down. And now 369 is behind 3 of them. This is the moment for JDG. And 369 sets it up, but actually couldn't do the damage. And now EDG are back in. Scout is doing it. LPC spinning around, but he can't quite finish the kills off. The curtain call comes through. How the hell did EDG win that?
That's just not fair. That was so well orchestrated from JDG. The deep flank, the pick on Flandre. But EDG, they're just too far ahead. And the wave is there, Munch. This is it.
That's going to be that. It's a bit of a heartbreaker for JD. Oh, the in-hip response. I think it's still going to be the end of the game. It's a heartbreaker for JDG. After that fight looked so good. He got the 3-man ulti. It felt like that was going to be it. But no Zhonya's, no stopwatch, and no win for JDG. EDG get themselves a 2-0 win to start the split off strong.
I believed for a second, Munch. I believed in the mojo. That brief moment where 369 had found that play. But yeah, well played from EDG, right? The early game was set up well from JDG, playing through the stronger jungle matchup, playing around the bottom side, and kind of using the fact that LPC could find success in a couple of these fights, but it really just wasn't enough. EDG played out the map better, constantly trading back and